Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? I'm Duffy Duck here once again, and I'm back for the Maxi Toys, and welcome back to my Let's Play of New Super Luigi U for the Nintendo Wii U, aka the New Super Mario Bros. U DLC thing. So anyways, last time we actually did manage to save and rescue Princess Peach once again, and defeat the evil clutches of Bowser and Bowser Jr. at the same time. And today for this episode, we're about to be continue on, and we're about to be doing a grand finale of this game's Let's Play, and especially the New Super Mario Bros. Game series. Or else if they actually did announce the next New Super Mario Bros. Game on Nintendo Switch, but I don't exactly know when. But I digress though. So, for this particular finale of New Super Luigi U's Let's Play is the fact that we're actually going to be moving on into the special world in the game known as Superstar Road. Just like New Super Mario Bros. U, in order to access to this world is by basically beating the game for the first time. So yeah, that's all you're literally trying to do. And you're still actually going to come across into 8 different levels to actually deal with. But even then though, that the level environment, even for the setup wise, is going to be remarkably different from the Mario version, as far as you guys should probably already notice by now. So, for the most part though, we actually have like, after when you get all these star coins, much like New Super Mario Bros. Wii, but I'll talk more to that briefly, because the first level we have in Superstar Road, and now will have to be Superstar Road 1, Spine Coaster Connections. So in this case, we're gonna have to deal with there's a whole bunch of spine coasters since Rock Candy Mines. But except the fact that, as far as Superstar Road is concerned, compared to New Super Mario Bros. U version, New Super Luigi U's version of, the Superstar Road is by far the toughest and the hardest worlds in the entirety of New Super Luigi U as far as the game is concerned. Because the reason being for that is because you do have less seconds, and also too much enemies on this, pretty tricky placements and all that stuff, and also no checkpoints, just like in the actual Superstar Road world in the New Super Mario Bros. U. And finally, that the level layout is going to be much more tougher, almost like very similar to the Kaizo Mario Bros. Well, almost, but even then though, that's not quite usually the true Kaizo Mario Bros. Although the only time you can create the Kaizo Mario type levels, which is on Super Mario Maker for the Wii U, and also the 3DS as well. Which I'm assuming that was going to happen. So anyway, so now we're going with that, and now let's move on into the next level, which was by far the trickiest level in the game, at least for one of the 3 toughest levels I have to find for that to say. Superstar Road -2, P-Switch Power. Very similar to Run For It in New Super Mario Bros. U, we're gonna have to deal with the P-Switch. A noticeable difference was this time is that rather than just run away from, in order to actually navigate for these brick blocks of obstacles, instead you run away a hell away from these instant death cubes, and as a result, if you mess one move up, you'll instantly die and you have to redo the whole level again. So yeah, as you can tell, I seriously screwed this up. So because of this, you don't want to do any mistakes. Like, even then, you don't want to accidentally cling up to the wall. You don't want to accidentally just get tripped or what have you, or if you misjudge your jump or what have you. And also not to mention though, that you got to be very cautious and be careful of, since some obstacles you want to actually avoid it. So definitely one of the trickier levels, I have to say, for this level though, unlike Run For It. Well, usually speaking though, in Run For It in New Super Mario Bros. U, that at least even then, you could actually use the P-switch, or in this case, no, not P, the P acorn power-up is so that you can actually have unlimited amount of distance and whatever runabouts. And then even then though, as long as you get the second star coin for the invincibility frames and all that kinds of stuff, so even then though, that's all you're really trying to do. And as a result though, much like Run For It, you're just gonna have to basically just press the, the P-switch at all times. And then assuming if you run fast enough, you don't want to actually walk on its own, you just have to run fast. So even then though, if you don't run, then you probably end up going to kill yourself. So there we go, that's P-switch power. It did surprisingly only take me about 2 attempts. But even then though, still, that Superstar Road, it was had to be the hardest version of this particular world compared to New Super Mario Bros. U counterpart. But even then though, that's what I usually find for that anyway, so In this case, though, that we're gonna have to come across into this item grinding. In fact, that we actually got ourselves the propeller mushroom and the penguin suits, just like it does in New Super Mario Bros. U counterpart. You know, it's gonna be located at Superstar Road as far as the world map is concerned. So even then, that's pretty self-explanatory kind of thing about it. So anyway, and then eventually when we get into the Baby Yoshi minigame is that we only have like just one Toad in order to get, and then 2 Bowsers in the way we really need to avoid though. So yeah. And I'm quite surprised about this actually, because even then though, since this is the last entry of the New Super Mario Bros. Game Let's Play, but even then though, that we actually did manage to tackle all 5 of those New Super Mario Bros. Series games in 1 year, in 2016, which I found was really surprising. Okay, Star Coin Deep Dive, Superstar Road -3. So the reason why I had to equip myself the penguin suit on this level is the fact that we're actually going to be doing this level underwater. And strangely enough though, we're actually going to be doing this in under the haunted theme level as opposed to this sweaty water themed level. And basically, much like how it does in New Super Mario Bros. U Swim for Your Life level, you have to run away from that Cheap Chomp, and especially noticeable the Cheap Chomp chase from the Acorn Plains secret level. Even though it's a bit like on that level, but except it's going to be, you know, much more harder now, because usually speaking of such, too much obstacles get in your way, and too much enemies has appeared right from the far right. And also not to mention that there are, again, no checkpoints, and especially you do have less time to deal with. I highly recommend if you actually just manage to equip yourselves a Fire Flower for this level, because not to mention though, if you actually see the Cheap Chomp response, that way you can actually kill the Cheap Chomp with it that way. So even then, I highly recommend you do that ability, because it's especially noticeable whenever you trying to find those remaining star coins along the way. So even then, I highly recommend you do that. So anyway, but even then though, that's conveniently enough though, that again, that I did not actually did the 2 split up parts of the 1 per worlds and stuff, unlike how it does in back in again 2013 version, because usually I just did that on Soda Jungle and then Rock Candy Mines and then Moraine Clouds in the process. So yeah. Okay, so now we access to yet another Toad House right there. In fact, let's go ahead and grind myself for that. I'm actually gonna go for the Propeller Mushroom, because Propeller Mushroom is actually really handy for me, so let's go ahead and do that. So then, one thing I need to point this out until right now is the fact that the reason why I actually just trying to constantly find myself just actually constantly doing this little save option is because again, that Superstar Road in New Super Luigi U, as far as the actual world itself, is going to be much more harder than the Mario version, as I mentioned earlier. And also not to mention though, if I have several mistakes on that one particular level or two, that means I actually have to just do a quick save and stuff. So even then though, no, not quick save, that I can save at any point. So anyways, next level we have, oh well, before I actually get into that actually, it's easy, so easy. Levels that's what the what Mario's is all about, okay? Warning, better not try to reach at the top of the flagpole. I can probably definitely expected that coming. But anyway, so let's go ahead and, even though I've already saved that for some reason. Anyways, Superstar Road -4 Hammer Swing Hangout. Now this level is very similar to the likes of how it does it from the Mario version. We're gonna have to deal with these hammer swing platforms, even though right off the bat though. Even though we still have to deal with these ice physics involved. But the only noticeable difference is that rather than just actually dealing with the actual platforming of the actual you know, the hammer swinging things to begin with, instead we're actually gonna go all the way up to the tower of the hammer swing tower. So in this case though, there are some flimperers along the way, so even though we haven't seen those flimperers since Flimper's Flows level, even though I think the only time you're going to see these guys in New Super Luigi is definitely this level and the other level which we recently did. Even though that's probably how this goes. So anyway, so if these star coins aren't that much of a troublesome, but the actual obstacles are not too bad and not too shabby at the same time. The only thing you need to worry about is at the very end of the level, because much like in New Super Mario Bros. U, I think it will do exactly the same setup as it does for New Super Mario Bros. U version, because right off the bat though, if you think you're trying to make it towards near the end, but you have to wait until when this hammer swing is gonna go all the way to the left. So yeah, that's the one thing you need to watch out for. Especially that, you know, you don't want to end up dying or lose a life and what have you. So that's one thing I need to point this out right now. Even though I'm sure many people already know this until that one point. Alright, so we're pretty sure that we're pretty much halfway done with Superstar Roads. Even then though, I'm doing not too bad, except for the first step in the P-Switch Peril. But even then though, that level is predictably quite tricky sometimes. But anyway though, so I believe the next level we're about to be hitting to is probably the easiest level in the entire game for me. Or in this case, the easiest level in Superstar Road World, as far as New Super Luigi is concerned. Under construction, Superstar Road 5. So even then though, I'm going to be using my propeller mushroom yet again. Yeah, for majority of this, I'm going to be constantly using the greatest power-ups I can actually just about to equip. I don't think that I actually got myself the Starmans now, but as far as this never is concerned, so yeah. First star coin, bust for these blocks, best to recommend the Super Luigi for it. The second star coin, I believe we need to actually wall jump for these little shifting blocks, and I think that's how this level gimmicks actually worked out. And I'm assuming in this level right here, eventually when we get towards the end, I'm pretty sure we can actually come across into the Bowser Jr.'s painting, if you can see on the far right of the screen. And the third and final star coin, and perhaps the most interesting area of the whole bunch in this level though, is the fact that once we climb up to this little hidden block that contains a vine, this little pixelated Luigi looks very familiar to you. That, my friends, is actually a model which is actually based off of Super Mario World, the Super Mario All-Stars version, which is usually a 16-bit Luigi, which is... I found it to be really, really cool for the looks of it, for that detail and what have you, especially it's now in HD for all in all. But hey, I found it really cool and impressive. So even then, though, I really don't mind. So even though this level's really easy and short kind of thing about it, incredible. Congratulations on your super play. So yeah, pretty cool, I have to say. Now the next level is going to be by far the hardest level in the entire game of New Super Luigi U, and that will have to be Superstar Road 6, Fire Bar Sprint. This is by far the hardest level in the entire game, at least for any other opinions of it. But even then though, that's I'm actually going to be doing justice with Luigi. So basically the entire portion of this level though is that we have to run away from these little fire bars. So even then though, this level is all about timing requirements in this level though, especially if you want to actually get the third and the final star coin at the same time. So that's how we can actually do with this level. So even then though, I highly recommend you do the great timing department at the very beginning of the level, assuming if you actually just trying to keep an eye out the fire bar itself. Or else that way that you can actually I just got hit right there. But yeah, the third and final star coin, you need to be Super Luigi in order to bust through these brick blocks, and if you actually use the ground pound. But unfortunately though, I didn't do it for that way. Although I could potentially try to do this within the first try. But even then though, speaking of such, I've done it for the first try without even dying. Oh wow, that's actually pretty incredible. But anyway, before I actually get the third and final star coin, and when I come back to that level again, I'm actually growing myself some power-ups, mainly the propeller mushrooms again. So yeah, I believe we only got about, like, 2 levels left, surprisingly. And then after this world is finished, then I'm pretty sure, much like New Super Mario Bros. U, I'm about to showcase some of the extra stuff how New Super Luigi U offers. However, though, it doesn't actually have 3 optional modes, more likely Challenge Mode, Boost Rush Mode, and even Coin Battle, unlike in New Super Mario Bros. U. I kind of wish it has those. So anyways, I'll meet you guys at the third and final star coin, so I'll just equip my propeller motion, and I'll meet you guys there. And there we go. So now we actually gotta make our way there, and there's the third and final star coin. And before you actually end this, probably notice, there's another 8-bit Luigi right over there. So I'll meet you guys at the world map. And look at that, I managed to you complete the course without taking any damage. So yeah, that's a cool thing. Thank you for that. So anyways, we only got 2 levels now, and which consist of Superstar Road-7 Cloudy K-Burst. So in this case, I believe we're gonna have to deal with something more peculiar. We need to deal with this one particular enemy that we're gonna have to use most of the time. So here we go, Cloudy K-Burst, which usually takes place in Moraine Clouds level, so yeah, that's usually how this goes. So in this case, in this level's gimmick is that we need to actually use Lakitu for the whole time, and in fact, I did not meant to get hit or touched by him by a long shot. But anyway, though, so this is how this level gimmick is all about. Is basically we need to ride on the Lakitu's cloud for the whole time. So even then, though, you're gonna have to do it like I would say you probably do it like 4 times, because even then, though, that there are one instance that you can actually use one just to you know, go ahead and just go all the way to the star coins themselves, more likely this first 2 over there, and the third and final one will have to be for the 3rd cloud, and the 4th cloud, you need to actually be sure you need to get the 4th and final cloud before you actually reach the end of a level, because if you manage to do it with 3 clouds, that won't able to work. So even though it can be a little bit tricky sometimes, because especially noticeable if you accidentally lost your Fire Luigi, so even then though, you're gonna have to be really accurate with your cloud movements and stuff. Especially you need to be really super fast, because if you make your slow progression on this, the Lakitu cloud will slowly start to disappear, so you gotta have to be very careful with that. And I've actually got my coins count back into 0 all the way to the beginning. As much as for doing so yeah. Alright, here we go, folks. The last level before the actual final level in New Super Luigi. But before we actually do this, however, I'm actually going to be doing the final time to actually grind the power-up. In this case, I'll get the penguin and the propeller mushroom at the same time. So, now, there's going to be the final level before the actual final level in New Super Luigi I want to briefly talk about, which was Superstar Road-8. Superstar Road 8 is actually called Impossible Pendulum. That particular level, unlike in New Super Mario Bros. U version, is that that's the level that Sylvester and Chip that did the 2 attempts on that level, because of how ridiculously hard that was. Because of this, though, because you have to deal with these donut lifts all the time. But anyway, as far as this level in general, perhaps this was, in my honest opinion, one of the hardest levels I've ever played in any of the 2D Mario games, even to this point. Especially noticeable, it's now called it Superstar Road 8 Impossible Pendulum, which is basically an equivalent version of Pendulum Castle or something like that. I can't exactly what the actual name of that level in New Super Mario Bros. U, but even then I probably should research on that, and I almost died from that earlier one, so at least I need to find myself a power-up or anything like that, but even then though, I probably should be more accurate and be very careful at the same time, especially the star coin locations as far as I can see. But even though still, I might as well just have to be more likely. I was hoping I could get this for a first try, I think, for this level, though. If I did manage to get that, however, I will be really, really surprised and happy for it. Luckily, though, if you manage to, if you probably can tell already that if I actually revisit to the Firebar Sprint, if I actually made just one simple mistake in, doing on that particular level at the 3rd and final star coin, you can actually just pause the game and then just slightly exit the course anytime you want after when you finish the level first. So yeah, that's all you're literally trying to you know, trying to think about it. But anyway, so let's go ahead and enter this pipe here. And this is what the hardest part I find for this level, though. There's the 3rd and final star coin just right there. But you gotta have to wait until when he actually reappears. However, the final part is definitely the hardest part of the bunch, especially if you want to— Yes! First try! Yes! First try! On this hardest level I've actually got to encounter it! Yes! Woohoo! Woohoo! Alright! Yes! Whew. Well, actually very incredible, I have to say, for myself. Especially I don't actually lose a life, and I'll take my 1-up as far as I deserve that level. At first I thought I was going to be saying that this is by far the hardest level I'm going to encounter with, but even then I managed to succeed it. And here we go, there's the true final level in New Super Luigi U, and just like New Super Mario Bros. U, you get the 4th star after doing so into your profile. Actually, I'll talk more into the file selection stuff before we actually get into later on, but for now, here's the true final level in the game of Superstar Road-9 Flying Squirrel Observation, or in this case, Observation. So, in this level, as far as this is concerned, it's entirely based off of Flying Squirrel ability, and as you guys can tell, this actually takes place in Frosty Glacier, as opposed to Moraine Clouds, as from Follow That Shell in New Super Mario Bros. U, because you have to deal with, like, keep an eye on the shell at all times before you actually just manage to, trying to actually get this just right. So, this is what happens if you're actually trying to do this for this level. All you have to do is pretty simple. And I think this is probably easier to me than the ones in follow that shell, because even then though, the main premise of this level right there is basically we have to glide from yourself or glide Luigi for the whole time before you actually get some momentum in midair. And especially you don't want to go all the way down, especially if you don't want to accidentally just use the trigger button just like that. Although luckily though, since if you're actually trying to stomp onto one of these waddle wings, you can like get some altitude for a few moments back, and then as a result though, you can actually hold left or right buttons if you're actually trying to glide safely. So I highly recommend you won't do the ground pound, because if you do go touch all the way down to the bottom, since it's an auto-scrolling level, you're pretty much going to lose a life on that. And after when you beat the level though, you get yourselves a thank you message, just like how it does in Super Mario 3D Land's Special World, and especially the Super Mario 3D World's Special Worlds, the toughest world in the entirety of the 3D Mario games. And what else is on the thank you list? I think it was actually oh jeez, I can't remember what it's actually at now. I think there was actually the one point in New Super Mario Bros. 2 in the Classics you know, the Gold Classics pack. Even then, I found that particular last level in that particular pack in the DLC of New Super Mario Bros. 2 is really, really easy. At least as far as I'm concerned about. And there we go, we've now recently got 100% completion of New Super Luigi U. So just like New Super Mario Bros. U, you can actually access the 5th and final star. And just like New Super Mario Bros. U, in order to get this stuff, it's basically the first star, beat the game. I've already mentioned about the 3 stars earlier on in the previous video, but in order to get the 5th and final star, you need to get all the star coins in each of the level, excluding Superstar Road, get every single secret exits, and beat every levels at the exact same time, and also that you're gonna have to catch Nabbit's worlds 1 through 7. So, yeah, that's all you're really trying to do for this particular game. And also you can now access these toad houses anytime you want. So even then though, they're not red spaces this time around though. So anyways, now for the extra stuff of New Super Luigi U. If you hold down the ZL button, if you can actually play as any level except one, which I'll get into in a moment, you're actually going to be playing as a new playable character into a Mario debut known as Nabbit. So basically, what Nabbit can does is the fact that he can actually just about to... Okay, that was a really bad start. Oh, that was a really terrible start for an extra extra stuff I was going to be showing you guys for that. Let's try that again. But yeah, if you actually hold down the ZL button on the Wii U gamepad trigger, then you can actually play as Nabbit on this level though. So yeah, that's pretty interesting, because usually speaking what Nabbit can do, even though you can also play as him on the multiplayer version, but actually just play as him, even then what happens is that he's incredibly invisible for the whole time. Like, excluding for the likes of how you can actually just about you know, bypass these fire bars in the fire bar sprint, for example, once you have yourselves an easier time with this level, excluding the newbies out there you're probably familiar with. However, if you actually be using Nabbit in the multiplayer mode, if you actually, there's one thing I need to point this out though, is the fact that if you play as Nabbit in multiplayer mode, it won't able to trigger the Nabbit chase sequence. The only time it only triggers is the 2 colored toads, and also just Luigi on himself. And the reason why I'm coming back into this level right there, because rather than Nabbit is actually playable, Nabbit was not the only one who's going to be playable on this level though, because the replacement of this level though, however, if you actually hold down the ZL button, you actually be playing as your me, which is pretty cool for the looks of it. However, there's only one major downside, but I'll save that for later parts of this particular point. But even then though, that's the reason why they can't be bothered to actually just use Nabbit on this level though, if you actually be using that cheat code, in this case that ZL code, that's probably because if you actually use Nabbit on this level though, he will die automatically, because this is an auto-scrolling level after all. And it's a good thing too, since this is actually changed to Mii's, because it's obviously because of how the Mii's themselves plays exactly like how Luigi functions, as well as the Mario as well, via the some extra modes in New Super Mario Bros. U, as far as they're usually concerned with it. So there's that one little glorious giant Luigi from the background. So yeah, that's really, really cool. So yeah, That's as far as it usually goes from that part, so that's all they're literally is trying to say about the, how you can actually play as your Mii in your New Super Luigi U. There's also another way you can play as your Mii in, New Super Mario Bros. U is the, again, extra modes, challenge modes, boost, rush mode, and coin battle, and what have you. However, there's one thing I need to actually have a nickel thing with this, and listen to this. Oh, freaking god, don't get me started on that Mii's voice. It is quite a disturbing voice I've ever heard. It did happen to Mario Kart 7 as well, and especially Mario Kart 8 even, but even then though so, I kinda wish it has more likely a deeper voice, just like in Mario Kart Wii, but even then though, I don't think that probably happened on that particular point, so anyway, so that's it for that, and let's go ahead and jump into the Secret Island. But all the Secret Island does is that it basically functions as the same thing as it does it for New Super Mario Bros. U. So even then you can still actually look up on some records and stuff, like, you know, the exactly same status like coin collecting, star coins, Goomba stomps, items collected, 3 moon-ups, and the boost blocks and mini boost blocks especially. And especially the goals you've reached, goals with Yoshi, baby Yoshi's, or in this case, reach the goals with baby Yoshis, reach to the top flagpole, and employees, and especially fireworks, and Nabbit's cards. So, yeah, for the most part, it plays exactly like how it does in the Mario version, but except, rather than just actually showcase Mario on this little particular list, instead it was actually placed as Luigi instead, so which is more likely predicaments of that particular point. So anyway though, if you actually buy New Super Mario Bros. U and New Super Luigi U's combo pack, as far as the physical release of these two games in one, you actually get yourselves the ability to actually watch those bonus videos via the main menu, which is kind of reminds me of something almost related to New Super Mario Bros. Wii's bonus videos. If you actually get those star coins on that particular New Super Mario Bros. Wii, if you're actually trying to unlock them, you need to actually be sure you need to, you know, get some majority of star coins. So yeah, that's all you're trying to do about it. Okay, so the next thing I want to showcase is the fact that you probably noticed something after when you beat the game, similar to when you actually unlock the Superstar Road world map. You're actually very familiar with this very familiar block. You know this little M block, which is essentially a Mario block? Now, unlike in New Super Mario Bros. U, there are no Super Guy blocks this time, because even then it's been replaced as a Mario block. So let's go ahead and hit that, which is predictably only happens when you beat the game. Hitting this block will change the character physics to match those of New Super Mario Bros. U. However, Nabbit's physics won't change. This effect will last until when you exit this course. So in this case, you're playing through the, well, basically how this block affects is the fact that it will actually change the physics to New Super Mario Bros. U's physics, which all it does is basically you're basically playing through the entire New Super Luigi U levels again, but except you're actually going to be doing with some of this stuff with just Mario's physics this time. So even then, it does play exactly more likely similar to New Super Mario Bros. U's physics, how it handles. But even then, though, again, as I mentioned this earlier, that there are no Super Guy block this time around. So even then, though, that luckily, though, if you actually be curious about certain things, luckily, though, your sparkly effects won't able to actually, ineffective on that little, guy block now, because even then, though, that has been replaced as Mario block. So even then, though, that's usually how this is actually a nice little change of that kinds of stuff. So anyway. So now we're moving on to the final extra thing, and remember as I mentioned earlier that New Super Mario Bros. U actually has the additional boost mode and stuff. New Super Luigi U also has a boost mode, but even though, unfortunately for me anyway, this is always happens every time whenever I play this game on my own time. Sometimes I've always found myself just actually getting myself some really weaker mini blocks, which is always a bit of an annoyance to me. But even then, most likely in New Super Mario Bros. U, if this can only be accessed if you actually only have your buddy with you. So even then, what that does is that most likely New Super Mario Bros. U counterpart, you're basically going to be placing those you know, boost blocks in any points of the level, and then basically all you can do is gonna have to place them as platforms. So that's all you're literally trying to do for that one point. And of course, much like in New Super Mario Bros. U, is the fact that if you actually land onto those specific boost blocks that way, and if you can probably tell from the Wii U gamepad display, even though I don't have my Wii U capture card or anything like that, but all it does is that if you touch that little invisible star thing right here, that way you get some sparkle effects. This means you actually get a ton of bonus after when you actually get if you actually touch one of those boost blocks. Most likely, you get a ton of coins for your disposal and all that. So yeah, that's all you're literally trying to do. However, there's also, I'm assuming there are a couple of 3 moon blocks, but even though I think they're quite well hidden this time. So even then though, it's pretty much the hardest way to actually get the you know, the 3 moon up moons. So anyway, so I think for the most part anyway, that wraps everything up in New Super Luigi U Let's Play. Even though I had a fun time on this particular Let's Play, and even though so there are some situations that I seem to die many times than the likes of New Super Mario Bros. U. But even then so I had a pretty fun time, despite there are some couple of deaths I managed to encounter with. And for the most part though, also to make it so much for that, we've pretty much done every single New Super Mario Bros. Game's Let's Plays. Even though there are, at least there's going to be yet another one during it coming into a Nintendo Switch or something or what have you, but I don't know when though. But I digress though, I've already said that plenty of times, don't I? Anyway. So yeah, I had a fun time doing this game Let's Play again, even though that the quality still looks absolutely amazing this time around, and as well as the audio itself as well. Even though I have to say though, this version of this Let's Play is much more better than 2013 version, because now the sound audio is now perfectly clear and all that. So anyway, thank you so much guys for watching the Let's Play of New Super Luigi U. This is me, Duffy Duck, and I'll join you at some point when me and Sonic are still going to continuing doing Toy Story 3. So yeah, I'll see you guys then. Bye!